It's the beginning of a brand new journey. Storylines about to be etched, new rivalries about to be written, and plenty of drama. It's why we all love the dub. Delivery decent off the left boot, and Edwards. Problems here. The first of the new season.
And so the build-up to always hotly anticipated, but it is simply the foot of the mountain today, which they must climb. Driven to the near post and sliding in for the opening goal. Nice leave, and the 1-2 with Keane. A really nicely worked 1-2 with Holly McNamara.
Here's an interception, cutting inside, a shot. What a way to introduce yourself to the competition. Policina thought about shooting, may shoot now. Policina!
Sunday afternoon in Gosford from Polytech Stadium as the Central Coast Mariners, defending champions, mount their title defence. Gomez receives a gift back, and this time she's right on target. What a way to start their campaign for 2025-2026.
That's a great ball into Michelle Heyman, her first sign of goal. The all-time goal scorer in this competition. It's her first goal of the campaign. Clear side on goal, and there could be the winner. India Breyer has never scored in this competition. And what a way to do it, what a way to start this season.
You gotta love a celebration, and how good is it to have the Ninja A-League back? Well, hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Amy Duggan. Round one in the books, and it's already served up some intriguing storylines. Let's make welcome to A-League's commentator Teo Pellizzeri. Hello, great to have you back.
Great to be back, Amy.
And speaking of coming back-to-back two-time Ninja A-League championship winner Teresa Polias, who's decided to rejoin us on the panel now that Sydney at least got some points in the books.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to be back.
It's good to have you here. Let's get your moments of round one.
Oh, for me, it was the history maker, Willa Pearson, youngest ever A-Leagues player. And I mean, what a fixture for her to step up and not look out of place. She was fantastic. Look at that bit of a fist bump there when she gets past the player. But I thought she was phenomenal.
My moment of the week, it's India Breyer's match-winning goal. Not just because Newcastle start with a win heading into bye week, but for India herself. She'd only played about 600 minutes over the last two seasons. After coming into the A-League Women's with amazing raps from her NPL form, she hasn't really found her best position. Is she a left-back? Is she a forward? She's still only 19, will still be a vital part of the young Matildas, and it's just a great thrill for her to break through and get that moment that hopefully sees her press on for a lot more game time this season.
It's one thing to pounce on a ball like that. It's two to put it away, right? To have the composure as you've come on to do it. Well, my moment actually comes in the same game. It is Charlotte Lancaster with the assist from the goalkeeper, Anna Lee. This is a goal kick out, gets in behind, too big, too strong, takes the ball across the defenders and gives herself space and squeezes it in at the front post.
Well, and she's an NPL success story because she was at the Phoenix and IPL Leichhardt used a foreign spot on her, gave her the platform to win her way back into the league, and all the Kiwi connections at Newcastle. I've got to admit, I was a bit sus on them, but they one win from one, come from behind in the first round. Got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, and just on Lancaster, she was outstanding in the NPL Grand Final, and you see a strength in her game in using her strength there, where she cuts in front of none other than Sasha Grove there. So, yeah, great start to the season for her.
And a great start too for the Brisbane Roar, who were 3-2 victors over Melbourne Victory. Probably not the upset we were expecting to start the season.
No, it wasn't, but look, it was a game of two very different styles here, and I thought if you looked at the game, the Victory were in control most of the match, but credit to Brisbane, they absorbed a lot of pressure and they, really made it count in their key moments.
A game that had everything, Teo, lightning breaks, multiple lead changes, but it was the Roar that eventually walked away with the chocolates.
Yeah, and they were the most recent team to beat Victory during last home and away season, so that was 15 unbeaten if you consider the penalty shootout is counted as a draw over 120 minutes. So they are Victory's bogey team quite clearly. Teresa, my burning question out of this is, Is what you saw from Brisbane, Tamika Yallop with the match winner here, is it a sustainable game style going forward to find the consistency that they did not have last season?
Look, it's round one, so there's a lot to see in terms of our team's going to adapt to other teams. But I think Alex Smith did a good job in round one of playing to the players that he did have, and I think there are great glimpses. I think his new signings were particularly good.
I would put it to you, it is completely unsustainable for them to absorb 10 shots on target and 22 total shots.
That remains to be seen,
and they were sitting so deep, Victory will be kicking themselves that they didn't establish a 3-1 lead when they had Brisbane pinned in their defence. And Brisbane, they are a moments team. It's a team built around their stars. And the Pareto principle, you know, design a game style around your stars, is not a bad strategy. I just wonder if it is sustainable over the course of a league season.
And to that level, I don't think so. I think they did it a little too much in that game. But like I said, it's round one, and I think they'll make tweaks in terms of controlling a bit more general possession in the game. I think they were under the pump a little too much, more than they would have liked to be.
You were talking about signings for Brisbane, and it seems like Bente Janssen, the Dutch import, has been a good find. A goal assist on the board in the first round.
I don't know. Even Papadinova scored in round one last season. I want to see more.
This was, I'm going to say it, I think she could be the signing of the season. I think she's a great pickup from Alex Smith, and you can see how technically good she is. And she was already combining with the likes of Sian Fryer, Ashlyn Miller. I think, we're going to see a lot from Bente Janssen this season.
Melbourne Victory were missing a whole stack of stars, Teo. They worked hard in the off-season to sign new players, to bring them in, to fill gaps, but they're all sitting on the bench.
Jeff Hopkins is the kid at Christmas who opens all his presents, but there's no batteries because everyone he signed in the off-season couldn't play. Now, this is not to make excuses for Victory because the team they put out there took the lead and played quite well. But Grace Maher pulled out in the warm-up. She is expected to be back next week. But look at the length of injuries there. Taylor Ray, Chelsea Blissett, Nikki Flannery, all at least a month away, and Sienna Silvestre potentially out until the new year. So Jeff Hopkins has turned to his youngsters. Rosie Curtis started. Sienna Teixeira got a debut. I don't think that's a bad thing for the Victory. I'm excited to see some of the young Victorians get an opportunity. But in terms of the squad they designed and their best 11, they are a long way off it. And that's why I think, you know, to have the attacking chances they did, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater after this loss. Yeah,
look, a long way off where they want to be. But in that game, I agree, Teo. I thought that the players that came in, Sophia Sakalis to name one, was great and has made a case for starting in the future. But I don't think they will be panicking. I think they did create enough there to have won the game. I think there were a lot of chances, particularly Rachel Lowe had plenty of chances there that she didn't put away. So early days for them.
Lots to come back onto the field and lots to find throughout the season. A great game. Sydney FC hosting Melbourne City at Leichhardt. This one ended in a 2-2 draw. Teresa, talk us through the big points of this one, besides the scoreline.
Yeah, look, I think it was a good start in terms of performance by both teams in round one. There were bright patches from the new players and the more experienced players, the likes of Hawkesby and Sarah Hunter coming back, and I think they've hit the ground running in the early stages of the season. But for Sydney, we saw last season their best performances were against City. So I think they need to back this up week in, week out. It's really too early to tell for me where they're at and whether they'll be challenging for silverware.
I think the reason it's too early to tell is that Melbourne City is an even more ball-dominant team than last year. Sydney FC had 29% possession, 53% accuracy. Basically a coin flip every time you pass the ball. Is it going to a teammate or not? They're not going to be that low in their numbers, surely, for the remainder of the season.
That's itself not sustainable, and we saw last season similar numbers in a lot of games, which is totally not Sydney-like. So they'll probably have a good look at that and want to go into more games this season controlling the general play.
Well, let's hear now from Sydney FC's Mackenzie Hawkesby and their coach, Ante Juric.
Does this mark that Sydney has returned to being contenders?
Yeah, for sure. I think that we've built a pretty solid squad this year. A lot of young players, but again, a few more experienced players up top. Thought today was a really good hit out. I think there's lots of things we want to work on, but I think it's a great start.
I thought that last year, I think it this year, so it didn't work out last year. I'll be the same every single year. This is Sydney FC. Any team that I coach, I expect to win every single game, let alone the grand final and premiership. And our girls know that, and we'll give our best. That's all you can ask for from these girls.
Sydney FC coach Ante Juric there. I guess after missing the finals for the first time in 17 years, the question on everyone's lips is, are they back, T?
Look, I'm going to say it's too early to tell, but I think it was a good statement in round one, a positive performance against a big team like City.
I think their Australian core is good enough, especially with Sarah Hunter there anchoring the midfield again. The import players, Heather Hinz starting on the bench behind Tiana Robertson. We only saw 10 minutes of Lorianne Moyes, and Jodie Ukekel had a couple of nice first touches. Clearly a good technician. How's she going to link up with the rest of the team? So I think there's still a bit of mystery around Sydney FC, but enough to take them on trust that last year was an outlier and a one-off.
Yeah, and I think it's enough of a confidence builder in the first round to go on and produce better performances as the season goes on.
Well, let's focus on Melbourne City because they were pretty wasteful in front of goal. Plenty of chances created. Is this just early season rust, Teo, or do they feel a bit of bite of some of the off-season departures?
No, I think it shows how well prepared they were, that they played almost exactly the same style as last year. But the problem is the same style as last year does not create enough chances. The equalising goal they scored with the last kick before half-time came after 291 attempted passes without a shot on target.
Yeah.
Now, Sydney FC has done that to Melbourne City, specifically in the 2024 Grand Final tee. So how much of this is the head-to-head matchup and Sydney's their bogey team versus Melbourne City still don't have enough ruthlessness and cutting edge when it comes to actually maximising having 70% plus possession?
Well, my question is it a mentality thing against Sydney? Like, you've got a great point there, Teo, but still, the stats don't lie, do they, in terms of City? If it's a possession-based game, it's an A+, but they've really got to turn that dominance in possession into real chances, and that's got to be something that they work on week in, week out.
Well, let's hear now from Holly McNamara following that 2-2 draw.
Of course, you always want to win. Obviously, we're disappointed dropping 2 points, but coming to Sydney is always hard. I think you can look back at the past few seasons. We've kind of always had a tight game here, and yeah, it was a tough game.
How would you grade your game today? You had a few shots, you had a few looks, but you're a hard marker, so how did you see your own performance?
Yeah, pretty bad. Had a few shots that didn't even go near the goal, so a bit disappointed with that, but I'm so proud of the girls to kind of get back into it.
A frustrated Holly Mack there, and always a self-critical and a hard marker she is. We say that as we welcome Narlene Masto to the desk, who's here to shine a light on some of our Ninja A-League stars. Narlene, welcome.
Thanks, Amy. Well, the talk of the town has been Willa Pearson, and 14-year-old youngest ever A-Leagues player did not look out of place going up against the likes of Holly McNamara, and we actually sat down with her during pre-season to hear more about her journey into football, and we also found out that it's not the only competitive sport she plays either.
Willa Pearson will break the record today as the youngest ever A-League women's player.
I'm 14 years old and I play centre-back defensive areas.
Coming up to play against women, to play against Holly McNamara, to play against some of the strongest opposition, and she's got a big task on her hands this afternoon. Looks comfortable so far.
It's Holly McNamara blocked away. And would you believe it, listen to the crowd, it's the 14-year-old Pearson who slid in to make the block.
I was 5 years old and neither of my parents are soccer people, so it was a bit of a coincidence actually. Just always played in boys teams, always loved playing in boys teams with boys with the high skill, high speed of the game, and I feel like it's definitely made me a better player. When I come back into the Sydney environment and there's big girls putting on big hits, it's really good to have experienced that with the boys. Oh, it's hard, it's definitely hard. I went home on Monday afternoon, I was like, I feel muscles that I never knew I had.
Here's a neat little turn. Evades Holly McNamara. She's loving life out there in the Ninja A-League.
I first made the Young Matildas when I was 14. Amazing opportunity to be able to go overseas and play, and hopefully a few more experiences to come. Soccer and cricket, I can't choose at the moment, and hopefully won't have to. Lisa Perry is an amazing role model to have, playing for both Australian soccer and cricket, to be able to look up to her and be able to try and achieve similar things that she has, which is amazing for me to have someone like her to look up to. So excited. It's definitely been like a dream of mine. Going to take the bull by the horns and do my very best at training, games, if I get the opportunity.
How about it? She's a cricketer as well. What can't she do at 14? I don't know about you guys, but what were you doing at that age? Because I definitely wasn't doing that.
Well, I was definitely training, but not for multiple sports the way that Willa is. Absolutely remarkable to see her standing up out there on the field, not being intimidated and having the composure that she did at 14.
There's a real likeness to Elise Perry as well, and I remember how mature Elise was at that stage as well, and what a mature head she has on her shoulders.
I actually want to ask both of you quickly, and you obviously were with youngsters coming into the team. What would be your one piece of advice to Willa if you're in the Sydney FC side now of just how to handle the pressure of coming into the first team?
She's got it sorted. Give her the armband. No, look, she's obviously very mature, and you don't want to overemphasise it and make it a bigger thing than, what it is to her, because she's obviously handling it very well. But I think the biggest thing is being approachable for her in any time of need, and her knowing that, she can come to you, if the need's not now, whenever it is. I think that's the most important thing for her.
I think just enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is. Keep doing what you're doing because, what she's doing is working well so far, and just don't lose that youthful enthusiasm and love for the sport.
I've got to say, though, having seen her at the Emerging Matildas Championships the last 2 seasons, I have no qualms with Sydney putting her in and playing her. But let's take the individual out of it and talk about the actual number, because I feel as though coaches, administrators, ex-players, they're all on board with what Sydney FC did. They trust the institution. They trust Ante Juric as a coach. But the number itself has been confronting for a lot of fans. So was this an institutional failure of either the league or Sydney FC that they could not recruit a more mature centre-back? We're seeing the list of youngest ever players here to play in this league and in this game. There'd be NPL centre-backs who have just won championships all around the country that do not have contracts. We have active young Matildas like Maya Lobo who do not have contracts in this league, and we have a 14-year-old starting. So was this a failing of Sydney or the league that she even played?
Look, her debut came from an injury anyway. We had Nat Tobin out, who's generally never injured. So that opportunity came up, and Willa has graduated from the development side into the senior squad. This isn't a momentary thing. This has been going on over a year plus now, where they've monitored her development, and that opportunity presented itself. She stepped up, and I encourage all of those people that are criticising, her age to watch the game and have a look what she was able to do. And this is a special case. It's not a usual thing where you can throw a 14-year-old into a game like this, but she's a special talent, and she was able to manage maturity-wise, physicality-wise, psychologically as well. So for Willa Pearson, it worked and it was okay. And this is not a, one-size-fits-all kind of argument. It's case by case. And in Willa Pearson's case, she managed and she did brilliantly well.
Be interesting to have this conversation if it wasn't a performance like that, though. I can see your point, Teo.
Well, I want to put it to you. So if you're Gemma Ferris, who was released by Wanderers but just won the NPL, so the highest available level as a centre-back, not on contract this season. Mia Green just won the Queensland NPL with Brisbane City. Centre-back, overlooked this season. These are players who are 6 or 7 years older than Willa Pearson, but they're still young themselves. So is that not an institutional failing that we can't find spots for young Aussie centre-backs in the Ninja A-League this season?
I think it talks more about the development pathway that Sydney has rather than what they don't have or what they haven't picked up. Or we can't just be plucking players. Well, you can. You can just pluck players left, right and centre, and you can bring them in and hope that they fit into a system, a development league, hope that they understand the players around them, hope that the short pre-season is enough for them to fit in and understand the style of play, the players around them, the team's culture, all of those things as well.
And I think your question was spot on, Amy, sorry, Narlene, about if her performance wasn't, good in whoever's eyes. Well, that's a question there, but then my criticism would come, well, what happens after? How does the club manage her after a poor performance in that environment? Do you give up on the player? No. You've got a duty to manage that and make sure that she can bounce back from that.
No, that's a good point you make, because now the whole challenge is going to be managing her minutes and having more senior players in the team to kind of put an arm around her and say, what do you do when things aren't going your way, facing adversity in a game? But it is also a matter of if you're good enough, you're old enough. And Taylor, you spoke to Ante Juric post-match. He said he's seen the emotional, physical maturity from her, that she is ready to take that step up. So why not give that youngster a chance?
No, but as I said, I'm taking the individual out of it. I think she's an outstanding prospect and deserves to be playing. So I think, you've got to take the teams on trust as well, that what they have built and what they've done is good enough.
It's definitely a case-by-case basis, but looking forward to hopefully seeing her get more match minutes in this season. Now on to another game we saw over the weekend in Perth Glory. It was the Americans who took centre stage. Gabby Holler scoring a double, and Rollerball we are back in the Ninja A-League. didn't look out of place at all. She scored a goal, and it got us thinking about all the Americans we've seen over time in the Ninja A-League. Merkin Rapinoe famously with Sydney FC on a guest contract. Who really stood out for you in terms of the Americans after round one?
Yeah, aside from who you mentioned, Arlene, I thought Ashlyn Miller was great for the Raw. I thought she combined really well on the wing with Janssen and Fryer as well. So, yeah, her speed getting forward and supporting the forward play was fantastic.
Well, I did pick one of the players that you mentioned in Willa Pearson. I thought having her back in the league, playing for Perth up front, I thought Perth were pretty good on the weekend, and being able to put that many goals away, she got the big tick of approval for me. However, I would like some more time to see some more minutes from some more of the American players until I make a decision about who's actually the best in the league this season.
And Tay, I was actually going to ask you, why do you think Australia is such an appealing destination for a lot of these young American players?
Well, unfortunately, the creation of the USL has now skimmed an additional 150 professional Americans off, I think, who Australia can realistically target. So it's great to see someone like Gabby Holler, who missed the second half of last season with an injury, come back and straight into goal scoring and complementing Perth's team very nicely. However, I do think there's going to be some Americans who are here on their last chance, and they're going to be desperate to earn that pro contract, whether it's NWSL or USL. However, I do think clubs are going to have to get a bit more creative into the future. If they bring Americans here to play NPL over winter, get acclimatised, prove themselves against A-League level players, maybe that's how they get elevated. It's the path Kayla Morrison took, so a very successful path. But in terms of head-hunting Americans from overseas, the USL does have me saying buyer beware on exactly how good they're going to be when they come out here.
We do have a remarkable history, though, and you talked about that previously. Jazz Spencer, you will have played with Kendall Fletcher lots of time with different clubs.
Abby
Dalkemper, US national team player, Caprice Didasco.
Sonnet.
Like so many big-name American players have, plied their trade here before they became superstars globally. I
think the ability to bypass college in the United States means that the role the A-League women's once filled and the shortness of the season being conveniently in the NWSL off-season means that maybe we won't quite see that again. But you never know. Plenty of ambitious Americans would come here thinking that they can launch their pro career by doing well in the Ninja A-League.
Now I want to change tack slightly to something very heartwarming we saw in the opening game for Western Sydney Wanderers. There was a very special young girl who did the coin toss for them ahead of the game. 13-year-old Ari Colte-Bazin. She's a Wanderers Academy prospect who very sadly has been diagnosed with bone cancer. We've seen the players there wearing shirts in support of her, and she's got such a bright young future ahead of her in football, the first foreign player of her age to receive an invitation to train with one of the top women's team in Japan, Ainak Kobe Leonessa. And her family have set up a GoFundMe page which has more information on her story. So I urge everyone to go up and read about it. And if you are able to make a donation or help in any way you can, the link is on screen. You can also head to aleagues.com.au to learn more. So obviously our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family.
Yeah, they are. And thank you, Narlene, for shining a light not just on this issue, but also on some of the stars in the Ninja A-League. It's been great to have you with us. Let's move on to the Wellington Phoenix because they play at Canberra United this weekend under the tutelage of their new coach, Bev Priestman.
A place I started my career, I got my hands dirty, did a lot of different roles, but I think it really set me up for what I went on to do, away from here. And my wife is a Kiwi, I've got a little boy as well. So I think family was a big factor in that. New Zealand's always felt like home to me. Whenever I've came here, I fell in love with the country, the people, the culture. But I think probably family was a big part of that. And then I think the Phoenix and the ambition that they have shown from an early conversation really hooked me in there to get back into the game. For us, I think we want to create a whole load of firsts this year. This team's never made the playoffs. We really want to make a push. And I think take away the outcome, we want to create a moment where New Zealand stops. We create that moment where everybody knows where they were when that happened. And that's a real, it sits inside the overall goal of, we want to go and win. I mean, we're in the wrong job if we don't. So for us, it's to set a real first for this club and hopefully we can go and do that.
Bev Priestman, coach of the Wellington Phoenix in the Ninja A-League this season. She is back. You remember, sidelined for a period of time after a stint with gold medal winning side Canada. Now, the Knicks have built quite a squad in the off-season. They've had a week to sit on the sidelines and watch everyone else. And this weekend they line up against Canberra United. There's a list of the changes there, the ins and the outs. Who will be their game breaker this season, Teresa?
Yeah, plenty of interesting ins there. But for me, I think they'll be really happy to have Macy Fraser back. I think she'll offer a lot of creativity going forward, which they did lack a bit of last season. And of course, she can finish on goal as well, which is very important.
I think the one thing to flag is that Macy Fraser's breakout run was not as productive or as lengthy as people might remember. It was 8 goals and assists in 19 games, and that was enough to get the Utah Royals to come in with a transfer fee. Didn't work out in the United States. I think this team's going to struggle to recreate what Annalie Longo brought to this team. She was 3rd in the league for shot-creating actions last season and was the creative output for this team. She put Wellington on her back so many times last season. I'm still, as much as they have done some good recruiting, I'm a little sceptical as to whether they have collectively replaced, I think, a player who is bordering on irreplaceable.
Look, you're raining on my parade a little bit there about the Knicks. Look, yes, Longo is a huge out. Don't get me wrong, and they will really miss her. But I think there's some exciting ins there, and the biggest in of all is Bev Priestman. I'm really anticipating what she'll be able to bring to their team. And they had the bye round 1, but this week coming, I'm excited to see what they'll show out there.
Well, taking on Canberra United, who of course went down to the Newcastle Jets 2-1 in somewhat of an upset in Canberra. They'll be looking to bounce back. Sasha Grove did say post round 1 in the interview she was really disappointed. She was annoyed by the loss, but she also said don't count us out just yet. It's only round 1. Any cause for concern for Canberra here, Teresa?
Look, given they were at home at McKellar, that's their fortress, they'll be extremely disappointed with the result there. They did dominate the game in terms of overall possession, but didn't really transfer that into many chances where that's their main worry, I think, turning that possession into chances going forward for the likes of Heyman to finish.
The thing that's kind of heartbreaking is Canberra was such a defensive team last season, whereas they made all the play, they made the more aggressive substitutions, they were the more proactive team trying to win, and they lost. And I'm just hoping that doesn't result in the handbrake being yanked up for future games, because it was really refreshing to see them be proactive and go to try and win the 3 points at home. And they got undone by, I think, a lack of concentration in defence on the first goal, and Nano Sasaki with the pass she would love to have back, giving possession away for the second. And as much as you can praise India Breyer, you see her sprint in off the blind side of Sasaki to win the ball away. I mean, that's just a lack of concentration at the end of the game, surely.
Yeah, it was. But I think Newcastle took their chance there. And, for round 1, for them going away to Canberra and getting the points, that's going to set them up for hopefully what is a better season as well.
Well, Canberra will be disappointed with the loss, but disappointment also for Adelaide, who went down 3-0 to the Mariners. What is going on at Adelaide, Teo?
I think of all the teams that lost in round 1, you can say it's one loss. Don't get too carried away. I'm ready to short Adelaide. If anyone wants my Adelaide stock, it's free to a good home. They beat the Mariners home and away without conceding last year, and even though they had some half chances in this game, as soon as the Mariners took the lead, Adelaide looked out of ideas. I'm really worried about them, T.
Yeah,
and the visit of Sydney FC this weekend, I think it's a great litmus test. I had them 3rd in my ladder prediction. I'm already revising that to making the top 6 would be an achievement.
Yeah, for the team that Adelaide have on paper, they were really underwhelming for me, and it was disappointing to see. But I guess, there was a change in coach. Perhaps it's just a matter of everyone getting on the same page and moving forward. They've got the quality there to produce a much better performance than that was.
They do, but they have the nucleus of a team that won the wooden spoon the year before last. So there are players in this team who have accepted being a wooden spoon outfit in the past.
In the past, I think they got a taste of success last season. Surely that's got to be enough motivation to continue that. So watch that space.
How much of this was Mariners good? Have we sold the Mariners short yet again? Annabelle Martin will be throwing the remote at her TV. Give the Mariners some credit.
No, right at your
I
head,
thought the Mariners
right at your head.
were good. They started brightly. I thought their front 3 were fantastic, and they took their chances. So dream start for the Mariners at home.
Yeah, it was. And we spoke about Americans in the league just before, but I want to hear who your best Aussie in the league was in round one.
Best young Aussie for me was Ivani Prakash for the Mariners. I thought it's great to see her starting and getting minutes. I think she's a player that should be out there starting, and she was creative in the middle of the pitch. She was tenacious, got things going, and really linked up with everyone around her.
And her Bulls Academy teammates from the NPL champions, Isabella Coco DeCipio, assist on debut,
Yep. So
Prakash pulling the strings, and if you're Alex Apakis, the young Matildas coach, that must excite you as well.
Absolutely, and moving forward, there's some great chemistry that they'll just build on.
I want to talk about, Wanderers may have lost in round one, but Alyssa Ngsard had the second highest in the league progressive passes received. What that means is she's getting into good positions. She's making space as an outlet. You see that ball over the top from Talia Yunus. Her movement off the ball, you wouldn't know she was a debutante and only 17 years old. And speaking of 14-year-olds, she made her NPL debut for the Blacktown Spartans as a 14-year-old and has bided her time. Wanderers have given her an opportunity, and she was the shining light on an otherwise tough evening for them. So big things to come for Alyssa Ngsard.
Well, we do love seeing young players make their way through the Ninja A-League. But, Teresa, did they make your Ninja A-League team of the week?
Yeah, my team of the week. These, Teo, are people that stood out to me. I had Chloe Lincoln in goals. I thought she was outstanding for the Raw. Robers, Pearson, Chinema and Allen across that back line. I thought they all were really sturdy for their teams. And through the middle, Bente Jensen, how could I have not included her? I thought she was brilliant. Policina, new club, great beginning, scores a goal. Mackenzie Hawkesby, I think she was really great, a leader for Sydney FC. Peter Trimmis, fantastic for the Mariners. And up front, Gabby Holler, fantastic for Perth, and Shelby McMahon, I thought she had a good game for City. I thought she teed up a lot, although they drew. I did think she stood out.
Are you sure about Robers? I mean, as good as she was getting Canberra into the finals, going into centre-back last season, we did see the match winner there.
I think her distribution's fantastic as a...
But what about the defending? She's there as a centre-back to defend.
Yeah, but she's not the only one, is she? So I think she had a solid game for Canberra.
Defend it. With everything you have, Ted. Defend it. Speaking of defenders, maybe that's who your performer of the week was.
No, my performer of the week was Peter Trimmis, attacking for the Central Coast Mariners.
There we go, Tip T, I got her in my team. You happy?
Oh, no, I couldn't agree with you more. But, I mean, Peter Trimmis, if this is what she produces every week, we're looking at someone who, after the Asian Cup, will be getting called into the Matildas for sure. Yeah. The thing is, this is perhaps the best game she's played at A-League level, and we know what she looks like. Devastating speed, burning off opponents, assists, goals, the lot, and a bit more conviction, because sometimes when the ball falls to her in the past, she doesn't strike the ball with true belief that she's going to score. So on her day, we've seen it for the young Matildas at the Asian Cup in 2023. We've seen it in round one here. Hopefully, this is the sort of performance that makes her think, I can do this every week, and then really push on from young Matildas to senior Matildas.
Well, plenty more storylines and hopefully plenty more goals and performances like that coming your way in week 2 of the Ninja A-League. It all kicks off on a Friday night with Perth Glory hosting the Brisbane Roar at 7 o'clock. Then we see the Phoenix for the first time this season up against Canberra United, who'll be looking to bounce back. City and Central Coast, Adelaide United and Sydney FC Saturday 4 p.m. And then Sunday, rounding it out with the Melbourne Victory and the Western Sydney Wanderers. Which game are you most looking forward to, Tim?
Well, just chatting about Peter Trimmis, I'd love to see her replicate that against the likes of a City, so I'll be watching closely. Yeah,
and in that fixture, if you stretch the back line, you might just get lucky. So I'm sure revenge will be on the minds of Melbourne City as well. I'm really looking forward to Perth versus Brisbane on Friday. Perth a good win in round 1, Brisbane a good win. Who's going to be undefeated after 2 weeks of the season? Don't forget, that game last season was went right down to the last minute. Red card, Perth winner, 3-2. So it's a perfect way to kick off the weekend.
It certainly is. Week 2 coming away. Teo Pellizzeri, Teresa Polias, thank you so much for your time on the Dub Zone this week.
Always a pleasure.
And for all of you at home, week 2 fixtures kicking off a Friday night, as we mentioned, right through until a Sunday afternoon. You can enjoy it all on Paramount Plus, or of course get the storylines and the snapshots off our socials. I'm Amy Duggan. Enjoy your week in football. See you next week.